My name is Emily, I'm 34, and for most of my adult life, I believed I was the responsible one, the daughter who held the family together. While my younger sister, Megan, floated from one impulsive job to the next, I stayed grounded. I worked hard, climbed the ladder, and when mom and dad needed help with the house, I was the one who quietly stepped in. The mortgage, I covered it when things got tight. Groceries, I sent them a monthly allowance without being asked. Repairs, late bills, emergencies. I was there, silent safety net. I never expected a parade or applause. That's just what family does, right? But everything changed the day I stumbled across the will. It wasn't meant for me to see. I was over at their house helping Dad sort through some old paperwork. He finally admitted they were struggling to keep things organized and asked if I could scan and digitize a bunch of documents. So, I sat at the dining room table, flipping through envelopes and files, sipping lukewarm coffee while Dad watched the news in the background. Then I saw it. A folder labeled estate plan and last will. I hesitated. I don't snoop. That's not me. But a part of me, some small uneasy instinct, told me to look. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was fear. Either way, I opened the folder. I read every line, every clause. And that's when my stomach dropped. Everything was going to Megan. The house, the savings, the car, the insurance, every asset my parents owned. Every bit of the life I had helped them sustain was being left to the one person who had never lifted a finger for them. My name appeared once in a single hollow sentence. We leave our love and gratitude to both our daughters. That was it. They had left me nothing. No explanation, no thanks, no acknowledgement of the thousands I'd spent, the weekends I gave up, the sacrifices I made. Just love and gratitude. And Megan, the same woman who once used their car to drive across state lines to chase some guy she met at a bar. The same one who borrowed my credit card and disappeared for 2 months. She got everything. I sat there staring at the paper. My hands shook, my throat tightened. They knew. They had to know what I'd done for them. They had to remember the night I stayed on the phone with the bank for 2 hours. To stop their house from going into foreclosure, or how I paid for Mom's dental surgery when their insurance fell through. How could they forget? My father walked into the kitchen a few minutes later completely unaware. "You still scanning those papers, Em?" he asked casually. I looked up holding the will. "Did you mean for me to see this?" I asked. He paused. His expression changed just for a second. Then came the sigh. The same sigh I'd heard since I was a child whenever I asked a question he did you want to answer euchology. Not even a real explanation, just 2 words that told me everything I needed to know. I stood up quietly, placed the will back in the folder, and left the kitchen. I did you want slam doors, I did you want yell, but inside something cracked. Because now I knew I was onto the daughter they cared about. I was the one they used, and that when I realized if I didn't matter to them in death, maybe I never really mattered to them in life either. For 2 weeks, I didn't call. I didn't text. I didn't show up at their house, like I usually did every Saturday morning to help sort their bills or check the thermostat or refill their prescriptions online. I disappeared. And not a single one of them. Neither Mom nor Dad nor Megan bothered to reach out. I thought maybe they were waiting for me to cool off. Or maybe they assumed I'd brush this under the rug like I always did, like a beautiful daughter who knew her place. But deep down, I was starting to realize something uglier. They didn't notice I was gone. They didn't miss the help because they'd never really seen it as help. They treated my support like background noise. Always there, always dependable, never acknowledged. Then the silence broke. It came in the form of a casual, passive-aggressive text from my mother. "Hi, sweetheart, the heater's acting up again. Could you take a look before next weekend? Thanks." No apology, no mention of the will. Just an assumption that I would show up and fix things as if nothing had happened. I stared at the message for a long time. They really thought I'd pretend this didn't exist, that I'd show up with a wrench and a smile and keep pretending I did. No, they cut me out of everything that I didn't know. I was just the family handyman in their eyes, useful, dependable, disposable. I typed a short reply. "Sorry, you'll need to call someone else." A minute later, another text came through. This time from my father. "Em, don't be dramatic. We just didn't think you needed anything from the will. You've got your life together." That one made me laugh. As if being responsible, being the one who has it together, means you don't deserve to be acknowledged. As if competence disqualifies you from love. I didn't reply, but then Megan texted. Of course she did. Hey sis, mom says you're acting weird, can you chill out? This isn't a big deal. I blinked at the message, my jaw tightening. Wasn't a big deal? She was about to inherit the house I paid half the mortgage on for 5 years, and it wasn't a big deal. Then pay the mortgage, I texted back. She replied with a laughing emoji. Then, girl, I can't afford that. That's your thing. That was the moment the last piece of the puzzle clicked. They never expected me to inherit anything, because in their eyes, I already had what I was supposed to have. Responsibility, not gratitude, not respect, just the obligation to carry their weight quietly, permanently. That night, I made a decision. No more payments, no more favors, no more fixing the broken things in their house or their lives. They could call a contractor, call a neighbor, call Megan. Let us see how far that inheritance gets them when I am no longer the one holding up the roof. 3 days after I stopped responding, the guilt campaign began. It started small, subtle, even a voicemail from mom. I didn't answer. Hi honey, we're a little behind on the electric bill. Not asking for anything, just thought you should know. Love you, right? Not asking, just informing me. The same way a cashier might inform you, your card didn't go through, expecting you to pull out another one. I deleted it. Then Dad called. I ignored him, too. This time, he left no message, just a missed call, like some silent threat hovering in my call log. And then Megan, predictably, Megan, blew it all open. They're worried sick. Emily, you know. Mom's blood pressure gets high when she's stressed. Can you please just talk to them and stop being selfish? Selfish? There it was, the word they always used like a dagger, sharp and familiar. I stared at it for a full minute before typing back. Was it selfish when I used my savings to cover Dad's hospital bills? Or when I canceled my trip to New York so Megan could have her bachelorette weekend instead? Or maybe when I missed work for 3 days straight to help Mom after her surgery while you were at Coachella? I didn't hit send. Not because it wasn't true, but because I finally understood it wouldn't matter. Megan wouldn't see it. My parents wouldn't hear it. They weren't interested in what I'd done, only what I hadn't done lately. And lately, I hadn't been useful. I hadn't fixed the heater. I hadn't sent the usual grocery Venmo. I hadn't reminded them when the property tax deadline was coming up. So, to them, I was slipping. And when the family mule stops walking, the people riding it get angry. But what none of them seemed to grasp was that I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. They made their decision when they excluded me from the will. The last chance they had to say, "We see you. You matter." Instead, they gave everything to Megan, the one who never stayed longer than a weekend, who posted photos of lattes and gym selfies, while I held furniture, organized their bills, negotiated their insurance, and still got "we love you both" equally in the fine print of their estate plan. I wasn't selfish. I was tired, and finally, I was awake. That night, Mom sent one more message. If we lose the house, I hope you can live with yourself. And you know what? For the first time in my life, I should have known the silence wouldn't last. A week after I stopped replying altogether. No calls, no texts, no guilt trip Venmo requests. I was starting to believe maybe, just maybe, they'd gotten the message. They hadn't. It was Saturday morning and I was still in pajamas halfway through a mug of reheated coffee, when my building's front desk called. "Hi, Miss Whitaker. There are 2 people downstairs saying they're your parents. They're asking to come up." I almost dropped the phone. "What?" I asked, hearthooting. "No, I didn't ask for any visitors." "Yeah, they said it's urgent." They look determined. I closed my eyes and took a breath so deep it felt like I was swallowing the floor. "Please don't let them up," I said flatly. "Tell them I'm not available." "Will do," the guy said hesitantly. "But they're pretty insistent." Of course they were. 10 minutes later, I got the first text. "Mom, we're downstairs. Open the door." 5 minutes after that, "Dad, we just want to talk. Be reasonable." And then, like clockwork, Megan, "Seriously, Emily, you're making Mom wait in the cold like this. What is wrong with you?" What's wrong with me? Nothing. What's wrong is that they still believed showing up at my door uninvited would somehow fix the fact that they had erased me from the legacy I helped build. What's wrong is that they didn't understand. This wasn't a tantrum. It was closure. But apparently they needed to hear it face to face. I grabbed my keys, threw on a sweatshirt, and headed downstairs. There they were. Mom in her pearl earrings, looking fragile but calculated, like she'd rehearsed tears on the way over. Dad stiff and unreadable, arms crossed, and Megan standing beside them, like some smug little prosecutor ready to mediate. I didn't say a word. I opened the lobby door just wide enough to stand in it. Mom stepped forward first, her voice already quivering. "Sweetheart, we just need 5 minutes. That's all." "No," I said, calm and even. "You need money. That's all." Her face fell like I'd slapped her. "That's not fair," she whispered. "Neither is leaving your daughter out of your will," I shot back. "Let's call it even." Dad's jaw tightened. "We didn't come here to argue." "No, I said you came here to make me feel guilty enough to pay your bills again, but I'm not doing that anymore. Ask Megan." Megan scoffed. "Don't drag me into this." "Oh, you're already in it," I snapped. "You got the house, you got the savings, you got the promise of everything. So why am I still the one you all expect to clean up the mess?" No one answered because there was no answer. Just 3 people finally being forced to face the consequences of their choices and not liking the view. I leaned against the door frame, arms crossed. "You raised me to believe family was about love, but it turns out it was about leverage. And now that you have nothing left to hold over me, you're panicking." Mom's lip trembled. Dad looked away. Megan finally muttered, "You're being dramatic." I smiled. I'm being done." And with that, I closed the door. No more scenes. No more bargaining. No more pretending. For the first time in my life, I chose myself. I should have known it wouldn't end at my doorstep. By Monday morning, the smear campaign had begun. Not in private, not through text, but in the one place my mother still believed was sacred ground, Facebook. It started with a vague status on her timeline. "Sometimes the child you raise with the most love is the one who forgets it first. Broken hearts in this family. Prayers appreciated." With a crying emoji and a 10-year-old photo of the 4 of us. Me, Mom, Dad, and smiling on a family hike I had planned and paid for. I read it in silence, barely blinking. Then came the comments. "You were such good parents. I'm so sorry. Some children just forget where they came from. We raise ours right. Thank God." By lunchtime, my father had chimed in with his own version of events. Raised a daughter with everything she needed. Thought she'd take care of us in our later years. Instead, she turned her back when we needed her most. And just to drive it home, he tagged me. They were telling the world I had abandoned them, that I was cold, selfish, and ungrateful, that I was the villain in a story they had twisted to suit their victim narrative. And then, of course, came Megan. She posted a filtered photo of her sitting beside Mom on the porch swing. Mom's face turned slightly, eyes glistening, captioned, "She doesn't deserve this." None of them do. But I'll keep showing up even when others don't because that's what family means. No names, no direct accusations, just enough innuendo to make sure everyone knew who the bad daughter was. I stared at my phone in disbelief. I had kept my silence. I hadn't shared the will. I hadn't posted screenshots or dragged them publicly. But they had no such restraint. They wanted sympathy. They wanted allies. And most of all, they wanted control of the narrative. Well, not anymore. That night, I sat down and wrote a post of my own. Not dramatic, not emotional, just the truth. I've been silent while my family turned this into a public spectacle. I won't go into every detail, but here's what I will say. For 5 years, I financially supported my parents while my sister contributed nothing. I paid their mortgage, their groceries, their repairs. I did it out of love, and I never once asked for recognition. Then I found out accidentally that I'd been written out of their will. Everything was going to my sister. No conversation, no explanation. They made their choice and now I've made mine to stop being used. To stop paying for love I never truly received. If that makes me selfish in their eyes, so be it. But I won't apologize for protecting my peace. And I won't be silenced by guilt. I hit post. And for the first time in this entire mess, I felt something close to peace. Not because the war was over, but because I'd finally stopped hiding. Let me know if you'd like to move on to part 6, where everything escalates one final time. I didn't expect the flood of messages that came after I posted my truth. Some were kind, quiet support from old friends, co-workers, even to cousins who admitted they'd always suspected something was off about the way I was treated. Others were not so gentle. One of my mom's church friends messaged me directly. "I don't know what happened between you and your family, but airing dirty laundry like this, that's not how good daughters behave." And Megan, she wasn't done. She took to Instagram with a string of stories, never mentioning my name, but making it perfectly clear who she was talking about. Screenshots of my post cropped just enough to protect her from liability. Photos of her hugging our parents with captions like, "Real family shows up without being asked." Some people think money makes them better. I just think it makes them colder. Then the kicker. She posted a Venmo screenshot, a $1,000 transfer labeled to mom and dad, because love doesn't skip payments. The comments were all praise. "You're amazing, Meg. Your parents are lucky to have at least one daughter who cares. I wish my kids were more like you." I couldn't even breathe reading it. That $1,000. That was a single symbolic payment after 5 years of me paying their bills and being erased without hesitation. But optics mattered more than truth. I realized then this wasn't about who had done more. This was about who looked better doing less. And in that twisted game, Megan always won. Still, I stayed quiet until the letter arrived. An actual letter in the mail, handwritten like we were in some 19th century soap opera. It was from my mother. "Dear Emma, we're devastated that you've chosen to turn your back on this family over something so minor. The will can be changed, you know that, but your behavior that will leave a mark. Your sister is trying to help us through this. She's heartbroken, too, though she hides it well. We want to move forward as a family, but you need to apologize publicly. Until then, we're cutting contact for our own emotional well-being." They wanted an apology after everything. They wanted me to say sorry for exposing the truth, for not letting them manipulate me back into submission. That night, I sat in my apartment holding the letter in one hand and a match in the other. I didn't burn it, but I didn't reply either, because here's the thing, no one tells you. Sometimes the truth isn't enough to change people. They don't want facts. They want comfort. They want the illusion of being right, even if it means living inside a lie. But I was done offering comfort at the expense of my sanity. I didn't lose my family. I removed myself from a system that was never built to support me. And in doing so, I found something better. Clarity. Now I finally know. Blood isn't loyalty. Love isn't conditional, and peace. Peace is expensive, but worth every step it takes to earn it. Not every story ends with reconciliation. Sometimes it ends with choosing yourself. Finally, and unapologetically, if this story resonated with you or reminded you of something you've lived through, don't scroll away. Leave a comment. Share your thoughts. And if you believe real